It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. I recently received an anonymous email from someone that asked me, should the role of Scrum Master be shared or dedicated? And I thought this was a good question, but not without some clarification first. I feel like when you ask that type of question, typically it's should we share the same Scrum Master across products or projects, or should it be dedicated to a product or project? Versus should the Scrum Master be shared across multiple teams or dedicated to a single team? Which brings up an interesting answer. The answer is yes, and let me explain because this is kind of crazy. So here we go. So for starters, I want to come right out of the gate and make sure I emphasize that the Scrum Master is a full-time role. It's not a part-time role. The Scrum Master has enough to do to keep them busy, period. And when I think of Scrum Masters, I like to think of them as either a level 1 Scrum Master, a level 2 Scrum Master, or a level 3 Scrum Master. So let me give you a debrief on each one of those. So a level 1 Scrum Master is someone who's pretty new. They understand the concepts of Scrum. They maybe attended a certified Scrum Master course. They understand what they should be doing, but they're still learning the ropes. They still have a lot to learn, but they're by no means are they a slouch. They're doing their job well. They understand what's being asked of them, and they're able to reasonably complete anything that's being asked of them in the capacity of a Scrum Master. Then they generally work with one team. It's one Scrum Master, one team. They're dedicated to one team. Now, a Scrum Master level 2 is someone who's been doing Scrum for a year or more. And that's rough. It could be more than that. It could be less than that. But it's someone who really understands what's going on. They know everything inside out. They have no problem dealing with one team and can easily pick up a second. And they are comfortable doing their job. They understand it. They're really, really comfortable with it. And they are ready to rock and roll. What I can tell you is that these Scrum Masters are really good at working with two teams. Usually one team is newer and one team is, already understanding and doing their job pretty well. But they can span their time across two teams, governing those teams and helping those teams understand what they need to do to be successful, setting clear sprint goals, facilitating meetings, and doing all the things that a Scrum Master does. There's also a Scrum Master level 3. Now, Scrum Master level 3, these are not common. These are people who have been doing this for 5+ years. They could pretty much be a coach if they wanted to in their own right, but they can easily juggle between three teams. They understand what all the teams are doing. They understand how to work with people. They understand how to help people remove impediments. I mean, they're doing everything they can to facilitate a great work environment. So they are indeed a Scrum Master level 3. Now, here's the deal. They could probably have enough bandwidth to pick up a 4th or 5th team, but I don't encourage them to. Instead, I want them to use that extra bandwidth to either help build the Agile Center of Excellence or to help mentor other Scrum Masters to become better at what they do. So it almost falls into the category of, I have extra bandwidth, I know what I'm doing, I'm really doing well, I've achieved advanced certifications, I know how to apply these principles, and I'm a really strong coach. Those people, like I said, are few and far between. But I think this is where it gets interesting. Somebody asked me, well, you just associated Scrum Masters with governance of teams. Shouldn't Scrum Masters be perfectly aligned with projects? Now, if you look at the Scrum guide, it says one product, one Scrum Master, one product owner, one team. Sounds pretty easy, right? Except we all know in reality that doesn't happen. And when you think about it, then you start to scale and you end up with one product owner, one very giant product or service, or multiple products or services they're working on, with multiple teams, each with a separate Scrum Master. Well, that's not ideal either, because then, you're associating, you have too many Scrum Masters at that point, right? So then they say, okay, well, we'll just associate the Scrum Master with the product or product owner, and then we'll have multiple teams working with one Scrum Master with one product owner. But then you're not taking into consideration, what if a team member shifts from one product to another? Let me explain. So let's just call our developer, we'll call him Ingrid the introvert, right? So Ingrid is a great developer, does everything well. They're really, really good at doing their job. But the one thing they're certain of is what color everybody's shoelaces are. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. They're just introverted. They don't like building relationships. They don't like talking to people. Now, Ingrid is so good at doing her job that she may be asked to work on 3 different projects. And if that's the case, if Ingrid works on 3 different projects, and on each of those projects she has a different Scrum Master, what are the odds collectively that she's going to build a relationship with 3 different Scrum Masters on 3 different projects? If your answer was 0%, you are absolutely correct. There's no way we can expect one person to build those types of relationships with that many different people. It's just not going to happen. But if we said, Ingrid, this is your Scrum Master, we'll call him Larry. Everywhere that you go, Larry goes. So if you're working on 1 project, you deal with Larry. If you're working on 3 projects, your Scrum Master is still Larry. It never changes. That way the people on a team can build meaningful relationships with the Scrum Master, as opposed to fighting against the Scrum Master in different, or I like this one, but I don't like the other 2, or anything like that. Now let's flip the cards for a second and talk about the product owner. If I'm product owner Pete and I'm on my project or product, I want to have access to as many Scrum Masters as possible, because if Scrum Masters are associated with teams, I could walk up to a table with 3 Scrum Masters and say, hey, do any of your teams have extra bandwidth they can lend to us in order to get this project or product pushed across the finish line? And I could potentially be soliciting to help if there's 3 Scrum Masters there of up to 9 additional teams, depending on who has bandwidth and what they're dedicated to. The point I'm trying to make is, if you understand how to properly utilize a Scrum Master and understand how to leverage their skill sets and understand how to align them both with products and projects and with teams, it's going to help you long term with the way that the Scrum Master is able to perform. It's also going to help you with the team members in a way that they build relationship with Scrum Master. And finally, it's just going to help everyone in the organization stay focused and on the same page by making sure the Scrum Master has a clear understanding of what their duties, accountabilities, and responsibilities are. Now, that's not to say that it's not important for the product owner to also understand the importance of limiting WIP and to help the team be successful. But I feel like by limiting the scope of which teams the Scrum Master is working on and how the Scrum Master can move from one product or project to another to assist in making sure it's successful, this is the combination that really helps organizations scale what a Scrum Master does and helps them be successful in the implementation of their products and services. So I guess if I had to break it down, I break it down into 3 things. 1, know the level of agility that your Scrum Master feels comfortable with. Are they level 1, level 2, or level 3? Understand that just because they're level 1 or level 2 doesn't mean that they're any less important. It just means that they're not ready to scale up to the highest level of Scrum Masterdom yet. They're not ready to climb Mount Everest, right? They're still a mountain climber. They're just not ready to climb Mount Everest. Number 2, making sure that you align the teams with the Scrum Master as far as a governance is concerned and not the product or project allows you to have better coverage across the products and projects and allows the teams to have better connectivity, the individuals to have better connectivity with their Scrum Master. And then, of course, third, aligning Scrum Masters to, or I should say, allowing Scrum Masters to focus on impact and outcome, where they can align or help teams align towards sprint goals, is going to help with the success of better forecasting, better limiting work in progress, and better allowing the teams to amplify the skills and traits that they do best. So that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a topic you want us to cover, feel free to reach out to us, learn more at AgileDad.com. We would love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.